Blessings, a community of spouses. Listen, Coach T here with you on today, and I want to share with you the four S's of self-control. Just want to share some practical things that you can do in this hour, in this season, as we continue to go through this quarantine time, as we continue to get through these days. Listen, times is hard, and people are not walking in self-control. And so I want to especially encourage my spouses, especially the ones who are home waiting on your spouse to return, especially for the ones who are there with their spouses and things are still not right. I want to encourage you to walk in the spirit of self-control. Walk in the spirit of self-control. Self-control is one of the fruits that God has given us, And if he has placed that fruit in us, then we can do it. A lot of times we think that we can't do these things. It just seems impossible. But if God placed it in you, that means we can do it. And so I want to just share these two verses with you in the four S's of self-control. The first one comes from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. And it simply says, "You should know this, Timothy," and this is Paul talking to Timothy. "You should know this, Timothy, that in the last days there will be very difficult times. For people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents, and ungrateful. They will consider nothing scarce. They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. They will act religious, but they will reject the power that can make them godly." Stay away from people like that. Stay away from people like that. All right. And I'm going to read you the second one, which comes from out of 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 to 8. And it simply says, "In view of all this, make every effort to respond to God's promises. Supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence, and moral excellence with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with patience, with patient endurance, and patient endurance with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love for everyone." Listen, self-control is our portion, spouses. Self-control is our portion. It is especially hard to walk in self-control when, one, you feel like you are being mistreated and you feel like you have other options. Self-control can be a very hard thing to walk in. We can know what to do and still do not do it. We can know what to do and still do not do it. A lot of us are very strong-willed people. And so a lot of times we can, lift ourselves up and motivate ourselves, encourage ourselves, and say different things to kind of keep us going and remain in an optimistic state. However, strong will is not self-control. Strong-willed is not self-control. And so I want to just share with you four S's of self-control that you need to just be aware of. I want to just bring these things to your attention so it's something that you can be aware of based off of 2 Peter and 2 Timothy Bible verses that we just read. The first one is substance or food. I wanted to use S, so I said substance. All right. This is something that we have to be aware of during this time, especially during this quarantine time. A lot of times food and the next one, which is sex, can kind of go hand in hand. And if we are missing out on one or the other, we can substitute it for one or the other. And so substance or food is something that you want to make sure that you are aware of, and that you're having self-control over it. Listen, I get it, because I am a sweet eater. I love sweets. And so God, and that's why I feel like he was tugging at me about doing this video, because I was supposed to go to the Walmart, okay? But God is constantly on me about, eating sweets. And sometimes we can get into routine, or sometimes we can just be trying to get through times, we may want to indulge in comfort food and things like that. We have to have self-control over the things that we're placing in our mouth during this hour, during this time, in this season. Listen, the enemy is not going to just let us be. He's going to try some way or the other. And this is something that you have to be aware of. You need to be aware of. If he can't get you in one area, he's going to try to use you and get you in another area. And during this time, food is something that he can use, or something that he is using to get you. Oh, I got nothing to do. I'm sitting here bored. My spouse is acting crazy, or my spouse is not here. It's just me and the kids. I'm going to get in front of the TV. I'm going to Netflix it out. Get me some food. You have to take heed to what you're putting into your body during this hour, during this season. And if you're gonna pig out like that and have those kind of moments and days, because I am guilty of it, I do it sometimes, make sure that you are exercising. Make sure that you're walking. Make sure that you're doing something to keep that off. Make sure that you're doing something to replace what you put in. All right. And so I want to bring that to your attention. Make sure that you are aware of your substance that you're putting into your body, Sex is the second one. This is a biggie. Especially for the ones who feel like they have options. Especially for the ones who feel like, well, my spouse out there doing whatever they want to do. Well, my spouse doing this, or well, this is going on. Well, everybody else in the world is doing these things, or this is just a normal, or this is the new time, or this is the new days. Listen, spouses, God would not even brought up the word fornication, any of those things, if it wasn't an issue. Make sure that you are aware of sex during this hour. If you're not being sexual with your spouse, if you're not being sexual with your own spouse, you got to take heed to that. This is something that we have to make sure that we are aware of in this hour. Listen, when my husband, when I was separated and he was living in his own place and I was in my own place, one thing I had to take heed of on a regular, it was what I watch, what I pay attention to, what I start looking at, what I'm feeding myself. I cannot sit there and be watching no love making on TV. Even just something simple as people holding hands and kissing, or just look like they finna do something crazy. Now the only thing I could do was a little Hallmark channel, okay, a little harmless. But all that extra stuff, going over and above, you have to be careful about what you're watching and what you're taking in during this hour in this season, because the enemy is trying to trick us. Oh, well, your spouse ain't here. Oh, you got needs too. Oh, you got to do stuff too. You can do this kind of stuff. What this mean? They doing this and you can't do this? No. When it comes down to it, we have to go back to what God's word says about sex. And if you are still married, there is no divorce that's taking place, and you and your spouse are still married, guess what? You are still married. So having sex with anyone else outside of your spouse will be considered adultery. Take heed. Be aware of those sex thoughts that come to you, those sex ideas. The third thing I want to bring to your attention is your soul. Something innocent. An innocent act can turn into a huge sin. And this is one I want to just point out to the ones that we're talking to, people that we're coming into contact with, people that we're sharing our information with, people who we are, just connecting with during this time. If, especially, like I said, I always go back to, if you and your spouse are not on the same page, who are you sharing your information with? Who are you giving your story to? Who are you going to for counsel? Who are you showing and giving yourself to in this hour? You have to be very careful about the things that you're sharing and who you're sharing it with. You don't want to give yourself to someone else in this hour. When you are going through hard times, when you're going through hard times and hard times are present in front of you, when you and your spouse are not on the same page and you're all over the place, don't really know what to do or whatever, your position is in the presence of the Lord. Your position is in the presence of the Lord. This is not the time of the hour to be listening to this person. And if you do, pray and ask God to send someone to you. Pray and ask God to send that right person to you that will speak counsel to you, that will give you wise counsel, that will speak words of encouragement and motivation to you. Pray and ask God to send you wise counsel. Don't just be sharing and telling yourself to anybody that you come in contact with, family members. You got to be careful. You cannot share all your all your personal information with people. So you want to be aware of your soul and what are you soul sharing? What are you sharing? And then lastly, your spirit. And when I talk about spirit in this sense, I'm not talking about the spiritual side of your spirit. I'm talking about your spirit as if your character, your morals, your what kind of vibe you carry when you walk into a room. Do you carry that vibe like, oh, something ain't right with them, I don't want to be around them? Or do you carry that vibe of, uplifting or something about them, makes me want to, pay attention to them, or something about them makes me want to, whatever. You want to make sure that your spirit is right in this hour, because it's so easy for us to get into a bad place and have a low and a downgrade spirit. So you want to make sure that you are continuing to stay uplifted, that you're doing something to motivate yourself and keep yourself going, that you're feeding your mind, that you're feeding your soul with God's word, that you're encouraging yourself, that you're doing something that you like, that you're doing some self-care in this time, in this hour, that you're doing something to keep you focused and keep you in the presence of God, on the same page as God. Listen, spouses, those 4 S's will be a great help for you in this hour during this time. We have to focus on self-control in this hour. It is vital. It is vital. And the enemy is trying whichever way he can get a foothold, whether it's through food, whether it's through sex, whether it's through, you giving information and sharing with someone else, and, getting into different type of relationships that you shouldn't be getting into, soul ties. When you share information with people and you talking to this person, a soul tie is connected there. A soul tie is connected, whether it's through a soul tie or whether it's just your spirit. Something about you is just off. Something about you ain't right. Like, who want to be around that kind of person? You have to take heed to that and be aware of that. So I just wanted to bring those things to your attention on today. I hope they have been a blessing to you. Blessings.